Morning, it's Leslie Denny, and I'm glad that you're with us today. It is for us a beautiful day. We've been in between storms. And it's been a while since we've had our yoga because last week I had to do my CPR training and schedules were wonky for me. But we're getting back on track, and so today is the 27th, I think. I don't know. I can't remember. I think it's the 27th, somewhere around there. And you can look on our group page. I've updated the weekly schedule with one new edition that's starting on February 4th outside at the gyms. But you can check it out there. So I'm hoping that you're with us today. And if you drop in late, don't worry, I'll be archiving this into our categories on topics. And just have a block and a strap and a comfortable mat, maybe a bottle of water, and just the spirit of adventure today because I promised I had a story to share for you. So let's meet me on the mat. It's still a little cool inside my house, so I've got my socks on, but I'll take those off in a moment. I said yesterday in one of the classes that I was going to share a story today about some friends of mine that had to leave. And they just left yesterday. And I thought, I've had these friends leave so many times, and every time they do, it always drops my heart a little bit. The friends I'm talking about are the Canadian geese. We live real close to Whelan Lake, the bird sanctuary for the Audubon Society. And there are so many different types of birds there. I think there's like 171 species. I'm a fledgling fan of birds. I'm learning more and more about birds. And the Canadian geese have always had my heart for years. Every year I will be in my office when they arrive. And I want to say it's around September-ish that they arrive. And I will hear the honk. And I'll run out in front of my door and I'll go, welcome back, we missed you. And they're in their beautiful V formation, honking and flapping, coming into Whelan Lake. And when I spoke to the caretaker over at Whelan Lake one time, Greg, I was saying, my favorite of all are the Canadian geese. And he goes, oh yes, they're like the hierarchy of the bird world. He said they will come in and they will visit with the little underling birds on Whelan Lake, but then they lift up and go to their own personal lake where they hang out and no other birds are allowed there. And I thought that is so funny that it's the bird royalty. So then when January, sometime around this time comes, then all of a sudden, I yesterday morning, it was about 6:30, 7 o'clock. They always leave at the same time, they arrive at the same time. So it was about 6:30 to 7, somewhere in that range. And all of a sudden I heard the honk. And I put my cup of coffee down and I threw off my little blanket and I ran outside. And there they were leaving in that beautiful V formation, honking, and I was like, oh, do you have everything you need, and have a safe trip, and I'm just going to miss you, and I'll look forward to seeing you when you come back. And I felt the same way I feel every year since the first time that I experienced the Canadian geese coming, but especially going. And I had this like little drop in my heart, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna miss you, and it's been kind of a hard year, and we're really driving forward, and I kept trying to stay focused and uplifted, but I still had this like little sad feeling that I had to let my friends go for a while, and I knew that I was gonna see them in September, but it's always that feeling when you have to let something go that you love so much that you get that little drop in your heart, that little place that gives you a little bit of a melancholy. And that's how I felt. I came inside and I sat down and I was like just reminiscing, the winter with the Canadian geese, and I look at their migratory maps and see where they're headed, and I think about them and think about the joy it is when they come back, because I know I'm going to be sitting right in that office, right there, as soon as I hear that first honk, and almost like notification, Leslie Denny, we're coming in. So I started looking at different quotes, because I always like to look at different quotes to try to make sense out of this crazy world. And I always go to my philosophical studies with yoga, usually as the first pit stop. And one of my favorite niyamas, there's the niyamas and the yamas, and these are, in Sanskrit, they are the kind of the precepts of our behaviors and things that we work towards in our yoga practice. And there are internal observances and then external observances. And the niyamas are the internal observances, things that we can do in ourselves in life to try to raise our appreciation and gratitude for the life that we've been given. And they were written by Patanjali thousands of years ago, and they're part of the 8 limbs that create the yoga practice. And there's 10 of them. And this one is usually the one that resonates with me the most, and it's called Ishvara Pranidhana. Technically, it means surrender. And so this quote really resonated with me. Ishvara Pranidhana is not about what your yoga can do for you, but about approaching your practice in the spirit of offering. So when I read that, I thought about my friends, the Canadian geese, and I thought the greatest gift that I can give is a warm send-off, a loving send-off, a grateful send-off. Kind of like when you go to visit family they haven't seen for a long time. And there's this joyous reception of hello, hello, and you're enjoying yourself so much. And then when it comes time to leave, they let you go with this gracious spirit. Thank you for coming. We're going to look forward to seeing you again. And we're sad that you're going, but we're just so grateful for the visit. That's exactly the way I feel about my Canadian geese every year. And when I thought about that and thought about patterning that over to my practice, it really, really resonated with me in thinking about the things that sometimes I need to let go in my practice. The expectations, the assumptions are pretty big when you've been practicing yoga for a long time. And make it more about discovery, which is what I opened up with when I asked you to have your mat and your supplies for you. Was also a spirit of discovery. And discovering what this practice is in the moment that you're opening up the doorway to it today, instead of thinking about what it was yesterday or the day before or years ago, or imagining what it might be down the road. Allow yourself to be immersed in the present and experience it here. And then with that spirit of Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender yourself to whatever it is. So let's begin our practice that way. I'm going to play a few of the sound bowls as we get started. So come to a comfortable seated posture and close your eyes. What could you let go of today that might make space for the practice that is truly meant for you? And just relax the hands up towards your knees. And drop the chin to the chest. And just embrace that little lengthening stretch through the back of your neck. Allow the shoulders to relax. Surrender any tension that you have in the shoulders so that your body can release a little more. And then as you lift the head, just allow your upper body to circle around. And just notice the idea of creating space for a practice in the here and now means that we're observing what is happening and modifying what we need to modify, or going deeper if the energy and the consciousness opens up that doorway, and then sweep it around the opposite way. And just like the Canadian geese leaving, sometimes what I've found in my practice is that certain components of my practice have departed too, but they're replaced by other things that have kind of become present just through my awareness and my acceptance. And that's hard to do, and yet it is such a great learning lesson in life. So I'm going to pop off my little socks here because my feet are warm enough to be able to tackle it. And then let's come to our hands and knees. If you're playing some music, go ahead and turn that on, because remember, I typically don't play it in yoga. And then work into your cat-cow flow. Okay. And then as you come to that neutral spine, go ahead and push yourself to an upright kneeling posture, but step the left foot forward and then just move into a little chest expansion. Notice what it feels like, what is opening up. And then release from there and come back to your hands and knees and just work through that cat-cow flow again. So the biggest challenge right now for us, I was sharing this yesterday, was we just completed an overhaul of my home office, and it's lovely. I'm telling you, I told John, if you put a refrigerator and a hot plate in there, I'm shutting the door and never coming back, because it's just so peaceful. But one of the things that is missing is a place for Merlin to sit. Go ahead and bring it up and step the right foot forward, arms behind, chest expansion. And he has made me just very aware of it. He'll come in and look around, and then he'll go over and just like sit in a really uncomfortable spot with his chin resting on like a windowsill. So it just rubs it in. So we're in search of a cat condo right now. And then release and come to your hands and knees and move through that cat-cow flow one more time. Not that he really needs it, but, well, it has been often said that if you do come back in another life, you want to be one of our cats. It's the best place to be. In fact, I'm coming back as one of my cats. And then push it back to your child's pose and just reach the arms out and just feel that stretch along the arms, but mostly in the side body as you're breathing. And then go ahead and lift up to your downward facing dog and give it a pat.
Go ahead and walk your way to the top of the mat, rounding the back and rolling up. Good. So I'm going to pop my shirt off here and try not to take everything off with it. And when you come to that standing posture, go ahead and start just reaching your arms up and overhead. Clasp your hands and arc over to one side. Just very carefully so I don't disrupt my mic. Yeah, clever, right? Just reach up and arc over. And then stretch up and over to the other side. Reach it up nice and tall. Take a deep breath in and then exhaling into your forward fold. And then from here, grab the insides of your elbows. Let your head hang. Your shoulders relax and just feel that marvelous stretch up the low back. And then drop the hands to the mat, step back to downward facing dog. Work your first flow here if you like, from knees or toes. Just bring it forward and work through that flow. Then press it back to downward facing dog. Then step or jump to the top of the mat. Inhale to flat back. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, reach up. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhaling, sweep up. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale to flat back. Exhaling to downward facing dog. Bring it forward to your plank on knees or toes and work your flow to cobra or upward dog. Then press back to downward facing dog. Step or jump to the top of the mat on an inhale to flat back. Exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, reach up. And exhaling, hands to heart center. Sweep the arms up. And release into your forward fold. Stretch out to your flat back. And then step back to downward facing dog. Work your chaturanga flow. The cobra or upward dog. And then press back to downward facing dog. Then step or jump to the top of the mat. Breathe in to an inhale to flat back. And exhale, release to forward fold. Then inhale, sweep the arms up and exhaling, hands to heart center. Let's move into that chest expansion once again. Draw the arms behind you, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And this time, if you're comfortable with a forward fold, feel free to hinge forward and really stretch it out. Surrender. Then as you release here, sweep into your chair pose, Uttanasana. Then inhaling, rise up tall to Samasthiti. Exhale, draw the arms behind you. Inhale to chest expansion. Exhale to chair. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, draw the arms behind you. Inhale, chest expansion. Exhale to chair. Inhaling, rise up. Exhaling, release the arms. Inhale, chest expansion. Exhale to chair. And one last time. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, release the arms down and behind. Then inhale into chest expansion. Then exhale into your chair pose. And just release into your forward fold and let your head and your shoulders hang and relax. And then from here, go ahead and slide that right foot back right into your pyramid pose. Notice the backs of your hips. It's always such a great thing to think about, is that sometimes we turn that back heel in and we may be more flexible on one side, and what that does is that kicks up one side of the hip and it offsets the sacrum, so this can be really contraindicated for the pose. So as you turn that back heel out, and you'll feel that sacrum come back into alignment, the hips are even. You want to be right here, and then take the expanse of the pose as wide apart as you can from front foot to back. And certainly if you need to use a block to rest your hands on, feel free to do so, because that really can help give you that support so that you can surrender into the pose. Take one more deep inhale, and then exhale, surrender. Then with the next inhale, come up into your warrior one. Just keep those feet anchored and then reach the arms up. And notice if you could surrender a little energy from shoulder to earlobe. Sometimes we hike up the shoulder towards the earlobe, and you can maybe open some space there. And then draw the arms behind you, chest expansion, and then move into that pyramid pose. And just very carefully see your way in. And then release the hands to the mat, stepping back to your downward facing dog. And then work a flow if you like. Good. And then step or jump your way back to the top, rounding the back and rolling up. Inhaling, reach the arms up, and as you exhale, release into that forward fold. Then slide the opposite foot back into your pyramid pose. And then take a moment to just feel the back of your hips a little bit, making sure that everything feels nice and even. And then take that deep inhale, exhaling to surrender. Good. With the next inhale, rise up into your warrior one. Just take your time coming up. Sometimes we rush into poses, and there's so much time for us to find posture. And then just breathe and soften where you can, sink in where you're able. And then as you draw the arms behind you into chest expansion, move back into that pyramid pose. And just soften into it. And then with the release of the hands to the mat, step back to your downward facing dog. Work a flow if you like. And then press back to downward facing dog. Then sink to your hands and knees and begin that deeper variation of Chakravarkasana by taking an inhale to open the chest, then exhale, bring that tailbone back to the heels. Then on the next inhale, slide the chest a little closer to the mat, scoop it out. Good. Then as you sink back to Balasana, to your child's pose, reach the arms out and stretch. Then lift up into your downward facing dog again. From this space, feel free to work a flow if you'd like. Otherwise, just step your way to the top of the mat, rounding back and roll it up. And then do a little check-in. See how you're feeling. Get a little water if you need to. Always good to take those little mini breaks when you need to. So from here, we're going to go ahead and step the right foot back into a high lunge. And remember, from this high lunge, you can always drop that knee down to the mat if you feel more stable and more comfortable there. That's absolutely okay. Then with the first inhale, just start to relax your arms over. And in the inhale, reach that right arm up and overhead. Then exhale, draw it to the side. Then inhale with the left. Exhale to the side. And just keep alternating from side to side. Ishvara Pranidhana is not about what your yoga can do for you, but about approaching your practice in the spirit of offering. We don't think about that. We think about what the practice will do for us, and yet there is this beautiful space to contemplate, what can I offer this practice to make it more whole, make me feel like I'm more present. Good. And then inhaling, reach the arms up. And then exhale, drop the hands to the mat and just stretch through that front leg. Back heel may not get down to the mat, and that's fine. We just want to feel this really wonderful lengthening stretch through the back of that front leg and through the calf on the back leg. Then from here, go ahead and step your way to the top of the mat, round the back and roll it up. And just take a breath in Tadasana. And then when you're ready to step the left foot back into that high lunge or kneeling lunge, relax the arms to the side, and on the inhale, reach that left arm up and over. Exhale, draw it to the side, and on the next inhale, reach the right arm up and over. And just keep alternating from side to side. I'm seeing evidences of spring coming. Well, of course, the first evidence was the Canadian geese leaving. But I'm seeing just activity in the back, and I think what I'm going to be doing this year is, I heard this idea to go ahead and get like some open netting and collect hair out of your hairbrush and maybe fibers. I knit a lot, so cotton fibers or different fibers that you can pull from your yarns and threads and things like that, and then cram it in that little netted bag, tie it together, and then hang it from like a tree branch.
And it gives like a little shopping tools for the birds when they start to build their nests. So I thought that sounds like a really nice little idea. So we'll see if that works or not. If it's still as full as when I put it out there, I'll know not to do that again. But you gotta figure out what you can offer. And then one more time to each side. And then just release the hands to the mat and stretch through that front leg. If you want to intensify, flattening through the back and reaching out through the crown of your head, certainly do that. Good. And then go ahead and step the back foot forward, round the back, and roll it out. A little bit of a check-in before we work into some balance here. So really check in and kind of explore your practice from the perspective of what have I offered this practice today? Not in the spirit of what am I going to get back, but what have I just surrendered to this practice? So we're going to move into standing big toe, but it's going to be the revolved one. And if you need to use your strap, feel free to have that handy. Also, if you need to brace your hand against a wall somewhere, feel free to do that to get yourself started. We're going to grab with our left hand the right toe. Then just extend that leg out and bring that right arm up and around. Let's take a breath or two. Good. And then release from there. Take a breath before we work the other side. And then using your right hand with a strap or a towel if you have it heavy, grab onto that left toe, lengthen it out, and bring that left arm up and around. And then gently release from there. Coming to the top of your mat on the inhale, sweep the arms up and release into your forward fold. Inhale to flat back and release to your downward facing dog. Work a flow if you choose. We're headed into pigeon pose because this is always such a nice little reprieve from the other postures that we've been doing. So on the inhale, lifting out through the right leg, sweep it in and anchor into your pigeon pose. Remember, you can come to the back body if you like, and then just sink right into that posture. I'm going to grab a little sip of water here. And just any variation that feels best to you. Breathe into it. The mindfulness that we offer our practice in the spirit of offering really shifts us deeper into the experience. And we discover so much more. When we're manipulating our practice or thinking, well, I've got to work really hard in this practice to get my benefits, then it's really a one-sided street. We're not really opening the doorway to see what the practice can offer you. So just see what this practice can offer you today. And take 2 more breaths here. Go deeper into the posture if you like. And when you're ready, go ahead and push yourself back to your downward facing dog. You can inject a flow in there if that's good for energy and warmth.
Otherwise, when you're ready, bring that left leg in and just find your way into that posture that feels best to you. And then as you're taking just about, 4 or 5 more breaths. Don't get necessarily a rush to move out of the posture. Feel dedicated to just give your all to it and see what comes back. Then when you're ready, place the hands underneath your shoulders, open up through the chest. Now if you're upright seated, we're moving into plank. And remember, with plank pose, and we're going to be moving into the side plank variations, you can absolutely park it to the knees to give yourself a little more support if that's what you're needing today, because that would be a gift that you give the practice in order to move into the posture. Otherwise, step back to your plank. And just embrace the strength of your body, awareness. And then take just one hand to the center and pivot to your side plank in any variation you choose. So again, if you want to drop that inside knee down, you're welcome to do it. You can even lift the leg from here to engage more intensity, or stack the feet, or take that top leg up, just whatever feels best to you. And then slowly face the mat again. Take a cycle of breath. And then walk the opposite hand in and move into that variation of side plank that's best for you. And then as you turn to face forward, just suspend in that plank pose for 3 breaths. And then release into your child's pose. Just push it back. Stretch through the base of your spine again, and take about 3 breaths here. Good. And then as you come up, let's come to a seated posture on the mat. Get a little water if you need it. Let's move right into Baddha Konasana. So if you get a sip of water, grab that. Otherwise, draw the soles of your feet together and just lean into that inner thigh stretch. Good. When you fold the knees together, go ahead and rock back to any variation of boat pose. So I'll turn to the side. It's always good to kind of get a side view on these things. But as I rock back, I am balanced right at the sit bones. And if I felt like I need a little extra support today, I can put the hands behind me or even park the heels to the mat, because that tilt back of the torso, immediately your abdominals are engaging.
For others that feel like they want to move deeper, your continuing variations are arms out, legs up, straight, or grab onto the big toe with the opposite hand and sweep that arm around and just hold there. And you can drop that opposite leg a little too. And that's a nice twist for energy, digestive system, but it's also engaging that abdominal network quite a bit. So just give yourself one more breath here. Then you can either drop out of the pose altogether or just quite simply switch to the opposite side. And then as you release from there, go ahead and drop those legs down to the mat and move into that forward fold. Then as you rise up, go ahead and draw your left heel to the hip. Grab onto it with the right arm and give yourself a nice seated twist. This is a real anchored twist, which is comfortable to move into, but you're still getting all of those benefits for the digestive system, breathing deep into that tight rotation with the midsection of your belly. And then switch it to the other side. Good. Then release from there. And let's roll it to the mat. Just draw knees to the chest and give yourself that little bit of a rock from side to side. Good. And then just grab onto your big toes and bring those knees either into the chest or just outside of them as much as you can for the inner thigh stretch. So if that's tough for you to grab onto your toes, you can always use the strap and make use of that just like so. So whatever works good for you. Just really good for Svadhisthana and Muladhara, our two lower chakras, energy systems, for stability and relationships, which are two things that we can always use in this world, especially today. And then release the feet to the mat and press those hips into your bridge. So make your bridge as you like it. If you want to move into shoulder stand or another inversion, feel free. If you want to take this bridge to either a high energy load or a lower energy load, just what is it that you can give to this practice today in order to reap what you need. Maybe take about 3 or 4 more breaths. and gently release. Take a hand to the heart and a hand to the belly and just take a moment to check in. Feel your energy. What have you given to this practice today? What have you let go of? What have you surrendered? And then just draw the right knee into the chest and stretch that left leg down. We'll move into some of our fun stretches and then have a really nice, relaxing Shavasana towards the end. So just be thinking of what you will need for relaxation. And I hope you do take advantage of relaxation. Now, either with your strap or just holding on to the big toe, extend the leg out. And as you draw it in, just hold it right here for that hamstring stretch. And energetically keep that opposite leg down to the mat and point out through the heels so that it feels very anchored. And just keep stretching and breathing. And then draw the leg out to the side. And from this point, I'm pretty tight in my hips and my thighs right now, so I'm going to use a block to rest my leg on so that I have a little bit extra support. And you can do that too, or you might be just all right there. This is something I can give to my practice today, and it feels right. Okay. And then go ahead and bring the leg up and take it to the other side and give yourself those little adjustments. Maybe stepping the hips over a little bit so that when you roll on it, you're not feeling any compression in that low spine. And just feel and embrace the way that posture unfolds for you. And then release. So as you come to your back once again, just recenter the hips to the mat and then draw the opposite knee into the chest. And when you're stretching that lower leg down to the mat, just point through the heel so that you feel everything anchored. And then stretch the leg out using the support of a strap or a towel if you need to. Otherwise, just hold on and feel that stretch at the back of the thigh. And slowly bring the leg out to the side, using block if you need to, or maybe even just bending the knee on that leg that you're drawing out to the side. That's
a wonderful gift for some to give to their practice, an offering. And notice what floats through your mind. Just little errant thoughts. Girl Scout cookies just floated through my mind because it reminded myself that my friend, her daughters are selling them, so I need to make my little purchase. And then I can let that go. And as you bring the leg up, crossing it over to the other side, making any little adjustments that you need to. Now, you may not have seen that, and if you didn't, don't worry about it, I'll tell you about it. But when I straightened out the leg that's crossing over my body, it drew kind of a tightness that didn't feel comfortable for my low back. So I moved the block up and bent my knee a little bit on that leg. And what that did was, because it loosened the hamstring by bending the knee, it loosened up the grip to my low back, and I could get into that pose a little more comfortably. So for you low back, tight low back folks, that's usually a really good compensation to be able to enjoy revolve lying big toe. And then release from there. Make any other little accommodations for yourself that you need to, so that you feel your practice is complete. But remembering that our focus today is really kind of embracing an offering to the practice in the spirit of Vishvanga Pranidhana. That idea of surrendering something that maybe you think you have to have, but understanding whether you're incorporating that as a message from your ego or true needs, and weighing it out as to whether you could let it go or not. So when you get comfortable to your mat, pull around all of the little support things that you need for Shavasana. If you need a little blanket or a pillow or a bolster, feel free to grab those things. I'm going to pull on my shirt here because I'm a little chilly still. Okay. And then in thinking of our quote for today, Ishvara Pranidhana is not about what yoga can do for you, but about approaching the practice in the spirit of offering. What can you give to the practice freely? It's kind of like the idea of altruism. We've talked about that a lot in our classes. This concept that true altruism is with no thought of what you would get in return. It's a gift. And even though we may think of the practice of yoga as maybe, like almost like a intangible type of thing, it's a living, breathing thing. It's very tangible. So why not think in terms of what you can give to it? As you get yourself comfortable into the mat, and when you're ready, close your eyes. Then take a deep inhale, and as you exhale, allow yourself to settle into the mat a little deeper. Soften through the shoulders. Allow your legs to relax. Take a breath and a little bit of a stretch. And then when you're ready, roll yourself over to one side. Take your time, and then when you're ready, come to an upright seated posture. Let's draw our hands to the heart. When we think of Ishvara Pranadhana and surrender, it should be with a sense of fulfillment, not losing something. Because so often, when we give something away, something else either replaces its spot, or that very same thing comes right back again. Just like the Canadian geese, they will come back, and each time I can let them go and surrender them to wherever their journey may be, I'm going to hear that honk coming over my office window, and I'll see him again. Lokaha, Samistaha Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy,
free, and at peace. Namaste. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a beautiful day, and whatever it is, just let it be.